FM. I'm Lexis Bill. Listen, I look forward to Thursday evenings. You have no idea. Yeah, because of the great conversations that we have. And this evening, we have one such good one for you. You would like it. Before I tell you all about it, let me share some good news from Visa for you. Yeah, you'd like this information as well. You can actually earn while you spend. I'm sure you're wondering, okay, how's that possible? Well, Visa says you can actually get some money back while you spend with your Visa card. I'm not pulling your legs, guys. Yeah, get paid while you spend. You can now confidently stretch out your card and answer with your full chest when the cashier asks you savings or current. Yeah, knowing fully well that you actually could get some extra cash back. Yeah, now here's it. When you pay for clothing items, groceries, cosmetics, jewelry, electronics, furniture, you probably go dining in one of these fancy restaurants, you name it. Whether you shop online or in person, you can now get 10% cash back when you spend at least 1,000 cities in 5 transactions, all thanks to Visa. This is not a lottery or a raffle or whatever it is. Just spend, yep, and that's it. Hop on that extra cashback train, spend a minimum of 1,000 cities in at least 5 transactions, pay with your Visa card, and get 10% of your total spend back, sent back to your account. Yeah, now you know how to earn while you spend. Yeah? So don't miss out on the extra reward. Pay with your Visa card and get extra cash back to spoil yourself with some extra goodies later on, like probably an extra box of, pizza or something. Yeah, there's a lot you can do with that extra money. So go out there and go get it. If you don't have a Visa card, stop at your bank to pick yours. You can tell your bank you need a Visa card ASAP, or you can visit the Visa website africa.visa.com for more information. Terms and conditions apply. You can also check out the social media pages at Visa underscore GH on Instagram and on Facebook as well for more. Get extra with Visa. Okay, so let's get talking now. This evening, I spent time with a change maker and a passionate Ghanaian who seeks to continually contribute to innovation in tertiary education, especially the engineering field. Yeah, he's fascinated by robotics, artificial intelligence, space exploration, drone technology, and hopes to get leadership concerned about the future of work as well. My guest is a recipient of the 2008 US Black Engineer of the Year. He was also awarded the Most Promising Scientist Award, 2008 NJ Biz Innovator Hero Award, and was a 2009 finalist of the NASA Astronaut Candidate Corps, a feat which nearly saw him land into space as the first African. And that would have been great, you know? Yeah. He's the former and founding dean of the School of Engineering at Ashasi University. My guest is the first and only Ghanaian who has 22 issued US patents and has numerous technical publications. He's an engineer, an inventor, novelist, educator, and a thought leader, and currently the president of a very great institution nestled in the Hacho enclave, the Academic City University College. Professor Fred McBuck McBaconluri. I
Yes,
need
sir.
I need a whole lecture on this name. Welcome, Prof.
Lori, thank you, thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see
I'm
you.
happy to be
I'm
here.
really excited that
I'm
you
happy
are
to
on
be
my
here.
show today because I follow you on Facebook. I see how passionate you are about Ghana and how you fire left, right, center.
Thank you.
And I'm like, that's Prof. But how you doing?
Not too bad. Not
And you're
too bad.
looking well as well.
Thank you.
But the gray, does it bother you?
No,
You
I
know,
love it.
you love it.
I never believe I'll grow old enough to have gray.
Because
So
I
it's a
see a
prized
few
commodity.
strands in my hair, and I'm like, is it a good thing
It's a
or
good
not?
thing.
It's a good
It's
thing, huh?
beautiful.
Oh,
It's
okay,
beautiful.
awesome, awesome. But how you doing, and what's really been keeping you busy lately?
Well, I'm doing great. I have a great institution that I'm working hard to establish its niche, and to place it among the best of equals.
Yeah,
So that's what has been keeping me busy, growing young minds, and essentially leading a revolution in tertiary education as far as engineering is concerned.
I know this week you've been busy with the Science and Technology Fair
Yes.
at Academic City,
Yes, we
showcasing
are.
some innovations and all of that.
Yes.
Tell me about that project.
So we are working closely with the National Science and Math team. Prior to this particular year, most of the activities have been theoretical,
Okay.
and it has become necessary for us to bring the experimental component to it,
Okay.
to make sure that our kids are graduating with degrees but also with good skills. So we are hosting the first in-lab experimental hands-on type experience for the participants.
Wow. So what are some of the innovations that you're showcasing there?
So we've shown them our ventilator.
Okay.
We are working on also a scrubber, because when you breathe out COVID, you have to make sure that the virus doesn't infect somebody else. Our students are working on an electric vehicle. So a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
interesting things going
Wow,
on.
like a full electric
We
vehicle.
are building one to move around our campus. Hopefully, one day when you come, we can take you on a tour. On our
I
campus.
can't wait. I totally can't wait. What are you eyeing Elon Musk? are you
Well-
trying to unseat him?
No, no, we're not. We're trying to be as good as him or better. You
Wow.
know, I think there's a lot of Elon Musk, by the way, is South African. You know.
Yes.
So there's a lot of talent on this continent that needs
Yeah.
to be groomed.
Yeah.
We can't leave
No.
anything to chance.
That's totally amazing, and I'm sure it's been quite tough as well regarding the times that we're in, the
Yes.
COVID era. It's
Yes.
been quite challenging for you
Yes.
and for
Yes.
running the university, has it?
Well, I think COVID has worked quite well, believe it or not, on our side, because parents are now looking at their kids staying closer home, you know. And so we actually saw a high spike on admissions during this
Wow.
COVID period. And then also, you know, working with a team of students and volunteers, we started building a ventilator to really augment the crisis.
Yes.
So we are going to see a lot more technologies around healthcare,
Yeah.
you know, given the challenges, obviously, that we have when these things have to be imported into the country.
So what's the state of the ventilator project? Because I was slowly following it
And
over
then
a
it
year
disappeared.
ago.
Yes.
Yes, when the COVID was at its peak, baby.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
you were taking people through the steps, you
Yeah.
know, every step of the way you kind of
Yeah.
were updating us.
Yeah.
So what's the state of it? Is it out? Is it commercial? Has it been passed for standardization?
Yeah, so we got $200,000 from GIZ or GIZ
Okay.
to basically develop the technology. So what we showed you over the year was the prototype,
Okay.
and you go through stages of product development before you can actually put a system on a human body. It has to be highly tested and evaluated to make sure that nobody dies while they are on your ventilator.
Yeah.
And so we've gotten past that. We're actually at a point where we can produce a model for Ghana Standards Authority and FDA to evaluate. And by the end of August, we should be doing that. The plan subsequently is to build about 100 of those for hospitals in Ghana and in the Guinea.
Oh, okay. Isn't it a little too late now? Isn't it taking too long?
No, that's a fair question. Even without COVID, a ventilator is an instrument that you have in the continuum of care.
Yeah.
And so beyond COVID, we still need that. Anytime somebody goes through an operation and they can't breathe on their own, you need a ventilator.
Right.
And these things can be quite expensive, anywhere from $10,000 to $80,000. And so for us to be building one locally, that will be under $1,000. That is quite remarkable.
It is.
Yeah.
It is absolutely. Well, I was
And we're also customizing it to a fit and form where you can actually have it in an ambulance, almost like a fire extinguisher.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So that is the other trust. And what we also have, which is quite unique, is you can battery power it for about 12 hours.
Okay.
You can run it off your car cigarette charger. You can charge it with solar and on electricity. And so this is uniquely an African thing because
Yeah.
it takes into consideration the prevailing realities in our environment.
No, I think it's totally laudable. I was just expecting that it would be ready by now because I mean COVID is still very rife and all of that.
Well,
but I mean I understand
a
the
year
challenges.
is too short for
Yeah.
a medical device.
Yeah, I understand
Usually
that.
these things go for about 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, so having said that, if there was an emergency today and people needed a ventilator, then all the FDA has to actually do is to give us a pass and say put it on to people, and you can do that. So we can actually put that system on a human body today.
Okay.
Just the process
The
of
process.
formalizing it is what drags on forever.
Well, hopefully we make an appeal to them, because it needs to
It
be
needs to be
passed.
out there, yes.
Yeah, it needs to be out there.
It absolutely does. So the good news is that the Director General of Ghana Standard Authority came to visit us, and he's been very, very supportive. Dr. Alex Dodu.
Okay, that's
So I
good.
think sooner or later you're going to see
We'll see it on
Albert
the
later
market.
out
That's
there.
really good. I'm excited about
And
it
it's called
because
Stella One.
it's called what?
Stella One.
Stella One.
And Stella is a former UN diplomat who saw the news and came up and offered us 10,000 CDs in support of the project. So in
Wow.
recognition of that gesture, we decided that the first model would be Stella One.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you had any support from government?
Not yet.
Not yet. This table that I am shaking, I will shake it.
I'm optimistic.
Okay, well, I'm sure
optimist.
they will come through very soon. But let's get to meet you. We'll talk more about work and all, but let's get to meet the prof himself.
Sure.
Where are you from? Where were you born? A bit about growing up, maybe your
Okay.
parents, if you can.
Sure. So I was born in Baoleshi, which is now called East Legon.
Oh,
because
top here, yeah.
it sounds better for real estate. Right? But Baoleshi is my hometown.
Wow.
My mother was born in Labadi. My maternal grandparents were from Upper West, settled in the Labadi areas at the beginning of the Second World War. My father comes from the Bogonluri clan, one of the prominent families in Upper West region.
Okay.
My grandfather from my father's side was one of the first three to go to school. So the Bogonluris have had 3 generations of maybe 4 generations now of educated. My grandfather was the chief of Wolo
Okay.
and also a colonial government official. My dad went to Pittsburgh School in Cape Coast. Studied stenography at the time. I think Pittsburgh was probably the only commercial school along the coast that offered secretariatship. And then worked for the Brazilian embassy for several years, and then became special assistant to the Minister for Communication, Transport and Communication, Jato Kelio, who happens to be my great uncle. I grew up in Baoleshi, went to University Star Village from across. The hospital, I escaped a few times, as I told you in our little chat.
Yeah.
And my guardian angel was Nia Monkote, who was the academic headmaster. I think he was the head of academics at Presec for several years. Great man.
Mr. Kote of Presec himself.
I tell you.
Wow.
He used to hold
the
my
great
hands.
Ni Amon Kote.
The great Nia Monkote, who never spared the whip.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. Of course, my fellow Presecans and all that years would know him very well.
Yes, great guy.
Wow.
I went to Nandom Secondary School, subsequently studied science. Went to St. Augustine's College for lower 6.
Okay, hold on. Let's stay with the period. Actually, I want to delve into the growing up bit.
Okay.
Of course, sounds like you are from a privileged home. Would you say?
I would say privileged, but not too lucky.
Why?
Because, when my parents divorced, I ended up with my mother's parents in Baoleshi, obviously, and those were challenging times.
Is it?
We used to walk barefooted from Baoleshi all the way to University Star Village Primary School. Started off as 13 students. Most dropped off along the way, and I think I was the only one that really went to secondary school among the 13 students that used to walk from Baoleshi. But, I wouldn't say it was all that bad. I mean, I had the best grandparents in the world. I don't think, without them, I don't think I would have been able to do the lessons that I got from them. Really shaped the ethos of my journey through life.
What lessons?
The humility,
Can you share some of them with us?
The humility, the empathy, the drive to excel, the ability to want to be the best among equals. Yearning to be the best, reaching out for the moon's unlimited potential, not being held back by adversity. Those traits, the immigrant traits of coming to Accra to make a better life for themselves, to have a family, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who have a place to converge, and the whole notion that you have to go out there and work hard for what you have.
Beautiful.
and that you should be kind to other people because it's not everybody that is as lucky and fortunate as
Yeah.
you. And those are the lessons that have guided my journey through life.
How old were you when your parents got divorced?
I was 6 years old.
6 years old.
Yeah.
Did you know the implications of that at the time?
At the time, I didn't know, but what dawned on me was, by the time I was 11, my dad was dead. And one time I was playing with my friends in the sand, in the city center, if you know Baleshi, where it was a village center at the time. And a gentleman walked by, and he looked at me, and he knew me before and the after. Okay, when we used to wear nice clothes from Paris, and now here I was, and then he said, "Fred, is that you?" And it rang a bell, like, because I wasn't really self-aware, as a kid, you just grow up in your environment and you begin to accept things around you. So anyway, long story short, his daughter is at Academic City University College. This very gentleman. And I can't tell you how privileged I feel. And by the way, that's Nia Monkote's cousin.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. The circle keeps
going. The circle keeps going.
Circle keeps going.
And each day I see her on campus, there's a special satisfaction that I feel. That I've overcome all the challenges and adversity and established an environment where I can project the next girl out of Baleshi into a different platform.
At that age, when you're much younger, what were you fascinated by? Was there a certain career path that you wanted to tow?
Yeah, I think I really wanted to be a mechanic. I really, really wanted. I was so fascinated with cars speeding behind our homes. I thought mechanics had the biggest fun because they were always driving a different car and just speeding past. So I said, this will be cool.
No, let's say it well.
Okay.
Fitter.
Fitter. The English name for fitter is a mechanic.
Yeah.
So, and then, along the line, I was also interested in the Air Force, because if you live in Baleshi at the time of the revolution, you see all these military jets who come and do the somersaults. I was like, wow, that is really awesome. So I've always been on the adventure path.
Yeah. And then you get into St. Augustine's. You went to Nandom.
I went to Nandom Secondary School.
Yeah. What did you study there? Science?
Science.
Okay.
And so that year, I think I got the only distinction from the science class. And then I went to St. Augustine's College. And then one evening, I got an EMS from my mom. And she said, you need to go to the scholarship secretariat. I heard your name on the radio. So I went to scholarship secretariat and I was told, you've been nominated for the Head of State Award. This was 1991.
Wow.
But you have to come and go through the process. So 2 weeks later, I went back, went through the process, and I was one of 3 that was picked. And 2 of us made it. And I don't usually talk too much about that part, but it was quite interesting. So even after we were awarded the scholarship, the process to go to America continued to drag out all the way into September, when school had actually started in the U.S. So I got up one day and I walked from Bauleshi all the way to Bama Camp and asked to see Alhaji Muhammad Idrisu, who was my dad's friend. Actually, Alhaji Muhammad Idrisu was with my dad when he met my mom. Because they were UP foot soldiers. And Obechebi Lamte, the father, then was hiding in East Legon, then Bauleshi from Nkrumah. And my dad was a bike rider who used to deliver the messages with Alhaji to Obechebi Lamte. And I was a kid. I don't think I was even born at the time. But I knew the name because Alhaji's name kept coming up when we were growing up. So I just walked to Bama Camp, asked to see him. And I was so sure that if he heard the name, I would see him. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
So I walk into Alhaji's office. He looks at me and said, you have to be David's son. And I said, I am. And then he said, when I last saw you, you were this.
Yeah.
What can I do for you, son? And so I said, look, I got a scholarship to go to the U.S. and scholarship secretariat has been bouncing me back and forth. He picked up the phone and he called Samson Ejay. And I remember the conversation quite well. He said, if my nephew doesn't go to the U.S. in a week, you have to answer to the president. And the following day, I was on my way to the United States.
Wow. What a story. I mean, you've got guts.
I push the
Yeah.
limits, and lessons from my grandparents, right? You should strive, you should work, you should push, and don't hope things will just fall on your laps. You
Yeah.
have to strive for it.
At what point did you drop out of school and Mr. Kote had to come in? And what made you drop out of school?
Oh, now you're trying to get me into trouble. So there was a bully in the class,
Okay.
and one day I just decided to fight him back,
Oh,
and
physically.
and he got hurt badly, and so I fled school for like 6 months. And Nia Monkoti always came looking for me. I said I was suspended. He said, no, you were not suspended. You just need to come back to school. So every morning he'll come grab me. I'll carry his books, and we'll go to University Star Village. And that is how I reintegrated myself into school.
Wow.
And what used to happen then, because we were the village boys from Baleshi, the kids from Lagos was always picking on us, So at a certain point, you just have to
You're
go
like,
knuckle,
nah,
knuckle
I've
to
gotta
knuckle.
show you who's
Say,
boss here.
I gotta stop this.
Are you sure it was that, or you just had anger issues?
No, I didn't have anger issues. I just got to a point. So look, there was a young guy called Alex. Anytime I would walk into the classroom, he would just come and knock me in the head, just like that, unprovoked aggression,
Yeah.
And after a while, a man gotta be.
A man's got to be a man. I can relate. I totally can relate. I did same in Presec sometime, but well, that's a story for another day. So now you're on the flight to America to pursue what?
Yes. So I went to America and I studied manufacturing engineering.
At which school?
Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. Yeah, about 15 minutes drive from Dayton. At the time, only 7 universities were offering manufacturing engineering in the United States. So it was quite a prestigious program that I got in. And because I went late, I actually had to stay an additional year.
Okay.
So it took me 4.5 years to finish undergrad.
The undergrad.
Yeah.
And at this time, you were probably clear in your mind what you wanted to do. Yeah.
Yes.
And what was it?
So I wanted to be an engineer, a good engineer, hands-on engineer, a problem solver type engineer. And so I felt I needed a body of knowledge in order to do that. So after the manufacturing engineering program, I went to Virginia Tech, where I studied engineering mechanics. Probably one of the craziest engineering courses. And then I went to University of Dayton and did a PhD in materials engineering. So it was a triangle, a little bit of materials, a little bit of mechanics analysis, a little bit of manufacturing. And that basically shaped the rest of my career in industry.
Okay. Now, so tell me about what fascinated you by about the models that and how they were delivered at the time.
Yeah. You mean at the university?
At the university,
Yeah.
yes.
So look, God is a material scientist because He said, "Let there be," and there was. That's a material scientist. What I liked about my education was that it was very practical. It was translational. It was hands-on. You were not doing anything else that wasn't happening out there. In fact, University of Dayton, where I got my PhD from, is the most funded materials engineering university in the United States, obviously in the world. We work closely with the Air Force, or the problems we solve in materials went into sustaining Air Force material. So one of the problems I worked on while I was at the University of Dayton was that prior to that project, the Air Force used to retire their aircraft engines within 25 years. Even whether they were old, broken or not, they just retired them. And so can you find a way to prolong the service life of these engines, which was really practical, day-to-day thing.
Wow. Interesting stuff. So by the time you were done with the PhD, were you clear that you would get into academia?
I think I started off wanting to go to academia immediately. Halfway through my PhD, I just got tired. And I said, maybe I should go out there and work a little bit. So I went to Siemens, and Siemens was beginning to do some translational engineering work in the 3D modeling, 3D space. And I got hired as a project coordinator. So I actually combined the last 2 years of my PhD working full-time. And so by the time I finished my PhD, I was an engineering manager at Siemens. And Siemens is quite a global company. I mean, their GDP is probably as good as the whole of Ghana's GDP. And so I worked on new projects, like new manufacturing projects. It was clear in my mind that I wanted to be in industry for a while before going into academia, which
Okay.
I think actually is where my practical nature comes from.
Came
Yeah.
from. Okay. How challenging was the last 2 years you mentioned?
Oh, it was very difficult because I was traveling around the world. I was running projects in Singapore. I was running projects in Madrid, Barcelona, um, Curitiba, Brazil, while I was still trying to do my PhD research work. I think
Yeah.
that's where I started drinking some high blood pressure medication, you know.
I
Yeah, it
see.
was pretty challenging,
Yeah.
you know.
So, at what point did you decide to take an MBA at MIT? Because I know you
Yes.
did an MBA at
Yes, I did.
Massachusetts
Yes, I did. So after
Institute of
Siemens,
Technology.
I went to Becton and Dickinson, and I ran the R&D group for their injection systems business, which is still the largest injection systems group in the world. So we made everything from syringes, needles, catheters, scalpels, among other things. And what was quite interesting was anytime the engineering team will engage the marketing team, even with the best technologies, they will push back. And the engineers will be like, you guys don't understand technology. This is really beautiful. We don't understand why you can't sell it. So doing an MBA was an attempt to understand the world in which I was from the marketing side. And so what I learned from it was that just because the technology is cool doesn't mean it will make you money.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make what sells.
I see.
So they were not dumb. They know what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's making sense how come you jumped onto the whole ventilator idea. you you saw the need.
I saw the need.
You saw the
I saw the
need.
need. But you know, Bill, what was quite interesting for me, it was not just the need.
Okay.
I think what spurred me on was the euphoria, the sense of emergency, a certain sense of hopelessness that the country is about to shut down, and we were not even sure if we had. So for me, it was more like a response, a military response, that we can't just go down without a good fight,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
and that there is the capacity to really do something. And I'm still quite convinced that this is a nation of intellect. It's a nation of infinite opportunities. We just need to get our act together.
If you're just tuning in, this is Joy 99.7 FM. This is Personality Profile. My name is Lexis Bill. This evening I'm spending time with the president of the Academic City University College, Professor Fred McBagon Louis. Yes, you can check out our live video and join the conversation on our Facebook. We're live on Facebook, so you can see the video and join in our conversation. Put in your comments there on the live feed. If you have any questions for Prof as well, you might want to put them there or send me a WhatsApp on 055 I'd love to read from you. We're having a very interesting discussion. So, Prof, tell me, how different was the educational system that molded you from the one in your country?
Yeah. So, you know, what was quite interesting for me when I first went to the States was the determination of these young men and women to learn. The emphasis was never on the grades. And so you find people end up in industry at NASA, see average students inventing and reinventing the world. And I came out of the system where everybody was always interested in what your grades were. You know, so the overemphasis on grades was it was a major difference in what I experienced in the US. And people wanting to be great engineers. You know, people talk so fondly of what there was passion, there was enthusiasm for it. I mean, people were not just going to the universities to study engineering because parents wanted them to, or to end up in the banks with engineering degrees. People actually wanted to become engineers because they were interested in being engineers. And, you know, I did part of my PhD work at Princeton. And so one day I asked my advisor, I said, well, you taught at Ohio State University before you moved to Princeton. What was the difference? And he said, while I was at Ohio State University, most of the kids were first-generation educated kids from the farms in the Midwest. And they were interested in being great engineers. And then I went to Princeton, and most of the kids were elite kids who wanted to be CEOs. So that is still the difference that I see. That there's more passion. And you are also trained to figure things out, to become a problem solver, a critical thinker, and a team player. So I think those are the differences that I see, that you need to be part of a critical mass in order to get things done. And Dr. Boachi, says it's quite right. He says, what we see here is a strive for personal or individual excellence. We focus too much on individual excellence at the expense of group excellence.
You came back to Ghana to take up a role
Yeah,
at Ashesi University.
that's correct.
Set up the engineering faculty.
Yes.
And actually head it.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
So, quite interesting. So, around 2013, I came back home to Ghana on a visit, and my niece was then a student at Ashesi University. So, she drove me up there. I met Patrick, and I was really so impressed with what he had done, So, I went to Patrick and I said, look, when I left here, I didn't think I would come back and see something this phenomenal. I don't have enough money to write you a fat check, but I guarantee if you start engineering, I'll come back and help you. So it was a promise that I had to keep. And interesting enough, when the engineering programs was started, I reached out, spoke to Patrick. I met him in Washington, D.C. And at the time, I just got a new job with Abbott. I had an offer on the table as Vice President for Research and Development at Abbott Labs, which is the largest medical devices company in the world. And my mom was visiting. So I said, Mom, I went to Ghana and I ran my mouth. Now I have a job on the table. What do you think? And so my mom looks at me for a while and said, son, if you make a promise, you have to keep your word.
You have to keep it.
And by the way, you've been here for 25 years. Let's go home. And so that's how my
And
journey
that's how your mom brought you home.
Yes, she did.
But wait, I'm coming.
Yes.
Bro. Did you have this conversation with your wife?
Well, my wife she never really integrated into American society. She always wanted to come back home.
Oh,
So
right.
she had actually left with the kids a year before. So that also made it easier,
Yeah,
right? Because I
yeah.
wanted to be near the kids.
Okay,
So
okay.
it was my wife is Ghanaian, by the way. So
Yeah.
it made it easier.
Oh, you had to emphasize.
The conversation is easier that way.
Okay. So now you're back home. You're seeing the setup at Ashesi University up
Yes.
the mountain. Beautiful
Yeah,
place.
beautiful.
Great vision as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had conversation with Patrick. Great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
His team is amazing as well. And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is it.
This is it.
Were there challenges?
Oh, obviously, when you're starting a new program, there are challenges. I was the first person to teach engineering at Ashesi. I taught, so I wasn't just the head of the engineering program. I was actually in the labs. I was in the classroom. I was working with the students in the workshops. I was on the ground, sleeves rolled up. I wore jeans every day to work, like you would see at IDEO, and other places in Silicon Valley. So hands-on type experience.
You did it for how long?
I did it for 2 years, 5 months, even though I signed up for 2 years.
And then what happened?
And so then I was wondering what to do next with my life. I've come in and I've done my national service, literally, which I always yearned to do. I didn't finish this form, so there was no national service. I didn't go to the university, there was no national service. So after 25 years, it was time to give up. And I think Ashesi was the perfect national service. I was actually contemplating going back to the States. I was at the time. And then,
Why? Because I'm thinking that if you're having a good time,
that's a good question.
yeah, if you're having a good
Now
time,
you're
at
trying to trap me.
I'm not, no, not at all. I'm not. I'm just curious. Forgive me. But I would have thought that the Ashesi setup was just perfect for you.
So I'll tell you, the roads were awful. I was always at a chiropractor. I spend weekends, and there are videos on YouTube with my kids. My little kids. Fixing potholes on the Kitase Brikusu Road.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, if a visionary of Patrick's stature dedicates his life to an institution such as this, that had the children of some of the policymakers of this country at that institution, the minimum we can do is meet him halfway. It means get the roads fixed. And so, I was kind of wondering whether I had made the right decision, really, because I wasn't seeing any help from anywhere else. That such an institution with a global reputation, with graduates that were excelling in multiple fields of human endeavor, wasn't appreciated at home. Then what does this sacrifice really mean, to be honest? And that was part of the reason.
Wow. That's interesting. And you would actually, I'll think that you would actually replay these same concerns, seen as the roads in front of Academic City
Yes.
University are equally awful.
Absolutely. So then, Academic City, what was intriguing, again, was here was a family that was willing to put in $25 million to build an institution in this country with a focus on STEM. I mean, it was worth the sacrifice. If I could build another great engineering program here, because think about it, we actually need about 25 top engineering schools to play in the global arena. So my contribution, my national service was to say, I've done one, I can do two.
Wow. And this family is a Ghanaian family?
It's an Indian family.
It's an Indian family. And you would think that maybe a Ghanaian family or government or something should champion this agenda.
Yeah.
What was the Indian interest in setting up the engineering school like that in Ghana?
So they've been around the continent for the last 30 years. In fact, they made most of their fortune, running companies in about 10 to 15 African countries. And this was their way of giving back to a continent that has given them so much. So that's one. The second motivation was that as their enterprises expanded across the continent, getting the right set of human resources was very difficult. They will bring in a lot of expats from India, which is quite expensive. And so could they also build a local talent pool to help sustain their business? So I think that was the second rationale, which is quite laudable.
So was it they who approached you, or you went to them and said, look?
Oh, they hunted me down like Red October.
Oh,
They hunted me down like Red October. They said, we like what you've done at Ashesi University. We want you to take this to a next level, And it was an interesting value proposition, from a dean of an engineering school to really running a whole university with an ethos around what I've actually experienced in the real world of work, right?
Yes.
16 years in industry, Fortune 500 companies, leading business enterprises, and then replaying that in an academic setting, I think was quite interesting.
What was the deal breaker for you?
That they wouldn't interfere with what I do.
And has it been so?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Look, I got to be honest with you. It's a very beautiful facility. It's a very beautiful institution nestled inside Hacho thereabouts.
Yep.
And hopefully I think you and I should join in the call because I've got interest as well.
Okay.
The call to make sure the roads are fixed.
Yes.
Because I look at the facility, the infrastructure. What you have this laboratory,
Yes.
which is made with something.
Yes. Space age lab.
Yeah.
Absolutely, with over $2.5 million worth of equipment.
Wow. And the road is terrible.
Yes, awful.
So please, I know the one responsible is listening to Joy FM right now.
That's good.
Please go by the transitions to Academic City University Road and do something about it. Yeah.
And just come inside and visit and walk around and see how we can be strategic partners in evolving this nation that we all love.
Good stuff. Now let's talk about the university and running it. It's been alive for how long?
I've been about 3.5 years.
About 3.5 years. How has it been? I know you've got students from all over the continent as well, not just Ghanaians.
Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
We have students from 26 African countries. We started it off 3.5 years ago. A strong ethos around experiential learning. You have to touch, feel, live the experience of higher education. It has to be contextual within the African experience. So we are not solving foreign problems. We are focused on solving Africans' problems. And we have a unique pillar called unified learning. And unified learning essentially mimics what happens in real life when you go into the workplace, where people from different backgrounds, different experiences, different cross-functional work together on projects. So whether you're an IT person, a computer science, a marketing, communications person, we put our students into groups to actually solve problems. That's our third pillar. And our fourth pillar is what we call extensional. And extensional means that we can't teach you everything in 4 years, but we tool you, we give you a toolkit that you can leverage in your journey through life. And that is the ethos that we push. It's very, very hands-on. You have to go into the lab and build stuff, you know. And I think that is quite unique, even from the experience that I had in the United States. You know? In the US, you go take one class on a campus 2 miles away, another class on the next, and you don't even know how the two comes together. But here you're on one campus, whether you're taking statistics or material science and engineering, you understand how the two actually comes together to solve real life problems.
And I actually read that you actually got accreditation to actually deliver courses in robotics engineering and artificial intelligence.
Yes.
The only university in Ghana to be doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are trying to play at the intersection of these new and evolving fields. So you take AI, you take robotics, you take biomedical, and then you put them together and say, what happens at the intersection between robotics and AI? What happens at the intersection between AI and biomedical, or robotics and biomedical? And that is really where the future inventions are going to come from. That is where the real solutions will come from. We can continue to look at knowledge in discrete forms. It's a continuum.
Yeah.
You need to put all these experiences together in order to solutionize. So who are going to build the next generations of medical equipment, the next intelligent road construction system, solving challenges in governance? It is these new bodies of knowledge. And we can't wait till they are developed somewhere else. We have AI systems that can recognize black faces. So who do you expect to design the one that will recognize black faces? It is us. And our kids are enthusiastic. I mean, you look around Ghana, and our girls are winning robotics competitions globally. And you have to ask the question, where do they go from there with that knowledge? And that is where Academic City comes in quite nicely and says, you can actually come here and study robotics, and you can go out there and build the factories of the future.
Listen, I totally love the setup, and if the setup needs a communications lecturer, I'm actually offering myself because the robots got to communicate.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
The robots certainly got to communicate.
And we're actually doing that, you know. So the robotic stuff and the AI is not just meant for the engineers.
Yeah.
But we're also looking at how it integrates into marketing, into communication, into finance. And so it's a holistic experience that we're really trying to build.
Good stuff. I'm sure I'm going to be on your faculty very soon.
I look forward to it.
It's going to be on my bucket list. I need to do that. But I'm excited about the fact that you're passionate about the future. Because just like you put up a post a couple weeks back on Facebook looking at the future. And are we all concerned about what's going to happen in a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades? What technology? I'm actually going to read the whole post because I want you to. I want us
to get me into
delve
trouble.
No, I mean, it tells you that I kind of agree with some of the things that you said in there. So, guys, I chanced on this on his paper. He said, look, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the world. My friend Sian, we'll get to know Sian later, will fly into space soon. Who says dreams don't come true? Nah lie. The battle for lithium is making Europe worried. Whoever controls the supply chain controls the future of electric vehicles. Professor Kojo Siwasari, thanks for sharing. Online education is here to stay. China will soon access Europe by fast-speed trains. Hypersonic jets will soon be in vogue. Killer drones are coming. Medical doctors will be replaced by AI doctors. No national service required. Armored tanks will be replaced by remote-controlled kill vehicles. Soldiers will no longer be required. Crowds will be controlled with bees of drones. Can I get a generationally inspiring statement from a single politician in this country instead of sourcing loans for vehicles to drive on roads that you can't build? Think about the future. The last 2 weeks was spent on silliness, welfare checks for presidential spouses, V8, V6 loans, and then. This nation must be built. Otherwise, Kolibu without oxygen awaits all of us. Look, and it tells me that this is a man who's passionate about the country. And I'm
Yes.
sure you would see a lot of things. You would want to see a lot of things fixed. What irks you right now?
You know, I see so much potential in this country. Um, Even as I travel around the world, I've come across so many Ghanaians, you know, that are doing amazing stuff. You know, Trebi is at NASA. And as a Ghanaian, I always ask, what will this nation look like if we can aggregate all this intellect into one spot? So I worried about that. I worry about the fact that we have gold filings in our hands and we wash it down the WC. That what the youth of this country are yearning for is that one inspirational statement, whether JFK is announcing America is going to be on the moon, whether Bezos says that when I was a kid I wanted to go into the edges of space, just that pivot that a nation can rally around. I want to hear that. I'm yearning to hear a visionary statement that will coalesce all the energies of the youth. Because, look, this country has tremendous potential. When you travel around the world, you begin to appreciate what Ghana really is. So I want to see something on the sciences. I want us to have a real translational educational system. We like to say we have the best educational system, one of the best in the world. But the outcomes do not show that. So it has to be an outcome-driven education. I want to hear a statement about energy sufficiency around the world, in Ghana. Like how are we going to solve our energy needs for industrialization? I want to see a statement around how this nation is really going to industrialize. So these are the things that keeps me up
Okay.
at night.
Well, Emmanuel Tuf Zirbo on Facebook says a very fantastic brain, Lexis, you have in the studio. Great guy by all standards. Thank you so much. And Nicola says, please ask Prof, how can I patent my inventions and roughly how much will it cost? I've had 3 concepts for cars and I've sent them to a US car manufacturer, but they always ask me to get a patent. First one was a reverse camera in 2001. Second was car shield tinting, darkening technology in 2017. Third is kit suffocating free technology in cars. You should advise me, please. And that's from Nicholas. Maybe before you do that, share with us some of the patents you have. You have about 22 of them.
I have 22 patents, mostly around hearing instruments, processing of electronic data, and products.
Okay.
Essentially, you know, 20 to 30% of us actually have hearing problems without even knowing. And with all this loud music going around, there are a lot of customers waiting.
Are you blaming me? And my radio station.
You know, and you know, they are essentially hearing instruments are computers in your ears. They take sound from your external environment, they process them, and they pass them gently into your brains, and then you can hear properly. They're very expensive. Some go for $6,000 a pair to really put them into your ears. Around the world, you know, 90% of hearing instruments that are made remain in the developed world. Only 10% come into the developing world and China. And they are product that we need here. We really need hearing instruments in this country. So my patents are around, you know, developing new technologies to process these faster. And prior to some of these inventions, it could take you up to 6 months when you order a hearing instrument to get it. And with some of these inventions, you could have a 24-hour turnaround.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
So to his question about how he can patent his ideas and in his inventions.
Yeah. Well, he needs $15,000 approximately per patent if he wants to file a US patent.
Okay.
They can be quite expensive. But my question to him is, why does he want to patent them? Because sometimes actually patenting your ideas exposes them and people can smith them, they can design around them. So there are other things we call trade secrets that you can actually maintain until you have a system that you can put out there. So I think this is one of the questions that you can actually pass my phone number to them.
Okay.
And we can have an offline chat.
Conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll do that. I'll just connect you with him so that you can guide him
Sure,
through
I'll be happy to.
that process. We're just about wrapping up, but
All right.
I'm just wondering, you've done so much. Are you a rich man?
No, actually, I'm a common teacher.
What are you saying? Like a teacher can't be a rich man? Like, Prof, what are you saying?
I run a
Because-
university. I've never seen a rich professor, you know. So let me put it this way: I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, because I'm so inspired by all that you're doing, and I'm hoping that I could follow in your steps. Of course, ultimately to be rich, and you are telling me you are okay.
I'm okay.
Prof, no, I don't want to believe this.
You know, Bob Marley was asked one time, he said,
Yeah.
Bob, are you a rich man? He said, I'm rich in spirit.
On that spiritual note, Prof, it's been great spending time with you. I'm so grateful that you came to share a journey
Thank
with
you
us.
so much,
And I'm sure a lot of people will probably come by Hacho and check out the Academic City University College. It's a great place. And if you had to end with your final words and a word of advice to anybody who's listening, what would it be?
Well, I think we should all strive, work hard. We have a beautiful nation to build. We have to be committed to it. Nothing good comes easily. We always have to dream. We have to be dream catchers,
Yeah.
and not dream killers. And beautiful Ghana. I'm looking forward to serve in any capacity that I'm called upon to do. Thank you.
Is that a political statement?
I don't know.
My name is Lexis Bill. I've been spending time with Professor Fred Bakonluri, who's the president of Academic City University College. It's been a great evening. I've enjoyed it. Looks like my brother, Wisdom Nuokbo, has also enjoyed it. In regards to Lieutenant Colonel George Wilson as well, and to Yao Sechi, who says a great friend as well. Have a great evening. It's time for the news at 8 o'clock.
Joy Headline News at 8 with Maxwell Ababa. Finance Minister Ken